Good morning, everyone. Today for our career conversation, Holly Tomlinson, who is a recruiter at Amica. If you are familiar with Amica, Amica's an insurance company, but I really know Amica more on the reputation for customer service. And actually, one of the places I previously worked at, we had Amica come in to teach us customer service. So Holly and I had a pre-conversation, and in addition to these things, we want all the employers to answer about what does hiring look like typically, what does hiring look like today, and how can I stay engaged. Each employer has also had a whole different flair. And so as Holly and I were kind of talking and prepping for today, one of the things she started talking about was really that hidden paycheck. The idea of, yes, I have a salary, but what are these benefits? And I got all excited because this is a conversation I have with people all the time about, okay, I know I have to make a certain amount of money, and that's just in order to pay the bills, in order to maintain my lifestyle, this has to happen. But then there's also this other bound, like I'd like to make as much as I can. And when we get into that part and we start looking at our employer and start looking at what does this package look like and what does that mean? So am I making more hourly, but I don't have certain benefits? What are the different benefits that are out there? So this is where Holly is going to guide us. Holly is a 2015 alum, and I'm going to pass it over to you, Holly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thanks for joining us today, everyone. I'm very excited to talk to you about really everything to do with hiring at Amica, with the current state of hiring, and with that hidden paycheck. So, of course, hiring right now is in a pretty crazy time. A lot of companies are freezing their hiring. I'm happy to say at Amica, we are not completely freezing our hiring. We do still have some positions that we're looking to fill. They're not so much your entry-level customer service positions or sales positions. We're looking more at business intelligence roles, software development roles right now, some accounting roles. We're really looking at those niche roles at the moment, roles that regardless of whether or not we are in a pandemic or business as usual, we still absolutely need these positions. As far as hiring during this time, I would say it's a really great time to build your connections and to work on your own resources. Since a lot of companies aren't doing things like hiring right now, you have plenty of time to really bump up your resume, build up your connections on LinkedIn, start really figuring out what type of interviews you're going to be going on once this is over, and practice interview questions. Start recording yourself. It's a great time to get prepped, and I've been recommending that to absolutely everyone. Now, as far as the hidden paycheck goes, let me see if I'm going to try and share my screen here. Perfect. We are. All right. Hopefully, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about the hidden paycheck, because of course, getting a salary is great and it's extremely important. You of course need that to get through your day, to get through life. But there's so much more to a job than just the bottom line dollar paycheck. So let's start by talking a little bit about why the hidden paycheck is important, because it is so important to think about everything outside of that dollar value of what someone's willing to give you. You want to make sure that a company is willing to invest in you and invest in your future. And that could be financially, it could mean with personal growth, it could mean a number of things. Maybe it's your education. Whatever that means to you, you want to really be seeing that company give back to you. In addition to that, you really want them to support your work-life balance. At Amica, it's all about the work-life balance. We make sure that you have, flexible hours. We do provide quite a few benefits at work so that you can live as much of your life in work as possible. Get rid of all those tasks, and then when you go home, you don't have to worry about work. So that's something that when I was looking for a job, it really meant a lot to me, because I didn't want to go home and continue to work. Personally, I see my sister's a teacher, so she goes home at the end of the day and she's got to grade papers. And I always saw that and said, nope, not for me. At 5 o'clock, I'm done. And lastly, the hidden paycheck is super important because it's encouraging you to stay there. It's encouraging employee retention. And ideally, if you're going to stay with a company, you're going to grow within that company. You're going to get raises. You're going to work your way up the chain, and hopefully retire from there one day. And I might be frozen. Oh, here we go. So at Amica Insurance, what we really start with is our mission. And that's the first place that you want to start with any company, is what is the mission that they have written down, that they have promised to their employees, to their customers, to everyone involved. So at Amica Insurance, our mission is to create peace of mind and build enduring relationships. So right off the bat, you can see from Amica that not only when you're coming into this company are you a part of a company that cares, but one that cares about its customers too. Because really, at the end of the day, even if we can't sell you a policy, we want to make sure that you feel educated and like you left with more than what you came in. And again, that really spoke to me as a potential employee, because I wanted a company that actually cared. So as far as salary goes, you're going to need a minimum salary, of course. Everyone needs a minimum that they live off of. Audra and I were just chatting about how, you know, at the end of the day, you want to let the employer know this is the lowest that I'm willing to accept as a salary. That being said, you never want to sell yourself too short. So you have to consider everything in addition that an employer is willing to offer you along with that salary. Things like health insurance, retirement options, profit sharing. Health insurance, for example, health insurance alone can be worth $10,000, more than that if it's a really great plan. I know if you, for example, go on a leave of absence, then typically you have to pick up your own insurance at that point, your own health insurance. And there are people that will pay upwards of $600-700 a month for a family plan and insurance. So if your company is willing to subsidize some of that cost, it's worth quite a bit in addition to that paycheck, as well as retirement options. So of course, most companies are willing to offer you some type of 401k, but what are they willing to match? At Amica, we do a dollar for dollar 6% match with an additional 3% non-elective benefit. So total, you're getting 9% every year as long as you're matching that 6%, which means, again, you might be getting, say, 50,000, but you're also getting an additional 9,000 from that retirement option, and now an additional 10,000 in health insurance. So, I'm sorry, I said 9,000, 9%. Again, though, you're getting more than just that dollar value. So profit sharing plans. Some companies do offer this, some don't. I know at Amica, we do offer a profit sharing plan because we are a stock-based company. So that means that when you purchase a policy at Amica Mutual, you're essentially purchasing a share of stock. And at the end of every year, we can give out dividend checks. Now, if our company is doing well, our customers do get their dividend checks, but in addition to that, our employees will get what's called a profit sharing check. So it could be anywhere from, I think I've seen the lowest at 2%. The highest I ever saw payout was, I think, 8% one year. That was a great year. But it's just an additional paycheck at the end of the calendar year. That's a percentage of your salary. And Amica is willing to do that so long as the company does well, because they realize, you know, our employers are the ones that are working to make our company do well. So we should be paying back to them. So really, again, all of this, just this page alone could be worth 30,000 in paycheck. In addition to, say, let's say you're starting at anywhere from 30 to 50,000. Now your salaries really could be up to 60, 80,000. But what you see on that offer is just that 50. So that's why we want to always keep thinking about these additional benefits. So some other things to consider. What type of vacation time do they give you? Do they give you any vacation time? Some companies are moving towards this kind of unlimited vacation time structure. That's great, but you got to make sure that you use some of it. Some companies offer sick time, some don't. Some say if you don't come in, that's fine, but you're just not getting paid for that day. in addition to that, what type of holidays do they offer you? Do they offer you holidays? Do they offer you additional pay on those holidays? Paid parental leave. At Amica, we do maternity leave and paternity leave. So regardless, if you have a baby, you've got some time off. In addition to that, I know here at Amica, we do a volunteer day. So you get 7.5 hours every year to just volunteer. They'll pay you to take a day out and go put it towards a specific charity, charitable organization. Maybe you're donating your time to some sort. Really, we have an entire page on our internet dedicated to charitable giving. Really, the company itself, is that company willing to go out of its way to help others? All wrapped up within that page is all this information. So time
I'm
off.
going to jump in on this one, if I can, because I think this is one of the things we do see a great variety in. And like Holly said, you take what you take, but there is no such thing as paid time off. I've seen a lot of people who get what seems like a lot of days that they'll say, okay, you have 21 days that are yours. I actually have a friend who is in high-level sales, and this has been her situation. 21 days. Those 21 days are everything. That is your holiday, that is your vacation, that is your sick time. And so I remember hearing that and going, okay, well, this is a little different because I've worked for nonprofits, for government, and for-profit, and seeing how those benefits change, where one might be very liberal, give you lots of different holidays, give you extra personal time, plus sick time, plus vacation time. I've also seen this parental leave growing, and I think this has been a very new over the past probably 3 to 4 years that companies have recognized the need for both parents to have a leave, and the leave has gotten longer, which I think greatly speaks to that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of companies, so kind of going back to that vacation and sick time, I know just a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I gave an offer to someone and discussed, the vacation and the sick time they were coming in with. And he'd actually said to me, oh, wow, I'd never had vacation time before. And in my head, I've only worked for Amica. So in my head, I thought, that's just crazy. But it's true. A lot of companies just don't give you vacation time. They say you don't have to come in, but you're not getting paid. And, you have to really sit down and think about what's more important to me. Is it more important that I work 80 hours a week and make a ton of money? Or is it more important that I work 40 hours a week and make an average amount of money, but I can take a vacation day? Everyone has their preference. And neither is wrong. It's just whatever you prefer. And definitely as far as paid parental leave goes, you're right. That is blowing up. It's becoming so important. I know for moms at Amica, if you just had a baby, you get 3 months off. For dads, I believe it's 2 weeks paid parental leave. And then you can also sign up for FMLA. I know for moms, that's an additional, I believe, 3 months. I don't know the time frame for dads. I don't know if they're eligible for that. But for moms, you can essentially get up to 6 months off at Amica. That's awesome. To spend the first 6 months with your baby. Any questions on this page? I know I just kind of flew through this page a bit.
So I'm not seeing any questions now, but I will just reiterate, because this was the thing Holly and I were kind of driving home when we had our chat of what does that hourly wage look like? So having that big paycheck, having the $80,000, $100,000 paycheck, and I ask people this all the time, if I break it down hourly, so if I'm making 80 to 100,000, but I have a 60 to 80 hour work week, and then looking at the benefits. And I think I like looking at it that way to say, once again, it might work very well for me and I have the flexibility and I want to work the hours and I want the big paycheck, and there is no right or wrong, but I want people to analyze what am I actually making hourly, and is this to my best benefit? So taking in the amount of hours, the salary, and those benefits. And that's what I really appreciate.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great way to look at it too, is to really break it down hourly. So kind of going off of this a little bit, in addition to the different health benefits that they offer, health insurance coverage is always, most companies are going to offer some sort of package as far as health insurance coverage. You want to think about, are they offering anything else wellness wise? Because work-life balance, it's more than just, do you have medical coverage? Can you get to work and be healthy there? There's really a lot more to it, because it's about the mental health, physical health, financial health, any type of health, really, any type of wellness. You want to make sure that you're working for a company that supports that. At Amica, we have a really huge initiative. So this is just a quick snapshot of some of the pieces that we offer. We offer a premium reduction program, meaning if you go to the doctor and the dentist once a year, then instead of paying, say, $70 a pay period for your health insurance, you're paying $50 a pay period for your health insurance. So they'll take off money for your coverage as long as you keep up and maintain your health. We also have a Healthy Life, Healthy You portal. So it's a place that you can track everything. If you're on a diet plan, if you need to double check on to see if you hit your marks for the premium reduction, if you have what's called a wellness wallet, meaning you have money to reimburse towards a program, all of that's housed in that portal. We offer on-site Weight Watchers. We have wellness champions at work. So it's people that are in the office that basically encourage you to use these benefits. Because, it's great if we offer these benefits, but you want to make sure that a company's reminding you about these benefits, encouraging you to use them. Otherwise, it's just money that's sitting in their pocket. Anytime that you log into any of these programs, that's essentially, again, a piece of your salary, because they're putting money into these programs so that you have the option to use them. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of any program anyone's willing to give you. We have an on-site gym at Amica, so anytime there's a class there, you'll find me in one of those classes because they're paying for it, so I'm going to be there. I'm not going to sign up for the gym on my own. So you want to definitely think about those types of wellness benefits, especially in regard to the nature of the job. So one thing in particular I want to mention is we put a really big stress on mental health at Amica, because you're spending a lot of time, if you're in life insurance, you're talking about death. Tell me about this disease that you have. Tell me about someone who just died and how they did it. If you're in the auto or the homeowner side, you're probably having a conversation about a car accident or a house that just burned down or was flooded. So there's a lot of really stressful topics that you're talking about in the insurance world. So that's why we put such a heavy emphasis on this wellness program. Because as an employer, we recognize, hey, our employees might get stressed out pretty easily in this career. So that's why we really want to focus on this. And that's a big part of the package. And again, you might have 30,000 in a paycheck in your position, but if you have the option to call up the Coastline Employee Assistance Program anytime you're stressed out and just talk, that can be worth a lot of money. Especially if you would normally go to a therapist outside of there. There you go, it's built in. So in addition to, wellness programs, you want to make sure that an employer is willing to invest in you. And this is something that's really blowing up across employers, is continuing education benefits. At Amica, we give up to $10,000 tuition reimbursement per year because we want our employees to grow with us. If you have student loans, you get an extra $100 a month to pay down student loan debt. It's money that you'll never see. It just goes directly to your student loans. A lot of companies are doing this, and it's so, so important to think about, because $10,000 a year is literally money, $10,000 in your pocket to put towards your future. So again, if now where were we at that last slide? We were up to around 80,000 in our last paycheck. So that's another 10,000 that you're putting there, plus $100 a month. That's $1,200 again, that's going in your pocket to put towards your loans. So definitely think about moving forward what type of benefits this company is going to offer you, not just right up front. Because $10,000 a year, if you're going to stay at that company, you want to get another 4-year degree, 40 grand in your pocket, done. So easy to make that money.
Holly, we have a great question here, which is about how do I know about these benefits? Like when I'm applying to a company, what you're talking about, there's, you know, once again, this hidden paycheck, there's, okay, we have all these extra programs. And I think most people say, all right, does it have health insurance or not? But I think also what you're saying is the quality of the health insurance program. Tuition reimbursement, I will repeat what this person is asking because I get asked about this all the time. Like this is a major selling where there's lots of people who want to go on for a higher degree, but the cost of it is tough. So if I am an applicant and I am looking and I'm trying to figure out, is this company worth applying to? How do I know about all these benefits?
Yeah, so there's a few different places you want to check. First, of course, you want to check their company's career website because somewhere on that career website, they will have a snapshot of benefits. Usually not super specific as to exactly what benefits they offer because benefits have, they could change throughout the year. They're all through third-party companies. So that's why most employers aren't going to write down, we offer this and this and this. And in addition to that, some employers might be actively trying to increase benefits, change benefits. So most of them aren't written down specifically on a website. So you'll want to check out what they're giving you as a snapshot on the employer's website. Definitely check out all of the Glassdoor reviews because they're going to give you two ends of the spectrum. The people who are really, really happy with their benefits and what the company's doing, and the people who are really unhappy with the benefits and what the company's doing. So from there, you'll want to find, you know, where's the more realistic middle between the two of those. But third, really, when you're in an interview, if you're in a final round interview, an in-person interview, or a digital live final interview, that's the time to ask about benefits. You know, I noticed that you, on your page, you offer, you know, health insurance and dental insurance, but in addition to that, are there any other benefits that you offer? And if so, do you something that I can read about? Most companies, once you're in the stage, they'll have something they can send out to you to read through all the different benefits. I know at Amica, we have basically an entire internet page that is like in a PDF format, that once we get to that stage of trying to sell that job to you, we're going to send that out to you. That's a whole breakdown of how our vacation time accrues, how sick time accrues, all the different benefits that we offer as far as tuition, wellness, and whatnot. But that final interview is really that time to ask those questions because as much as you're sitting there saying, you know, oh, I really want this job, that employer is also sitting on the other end saying, I really need to sell this job to that potential employee because the job market we're about to head into, I mean, we have the highest unemployment right now in quite some time. So from an employer standpoint, we're going to be probably really fighting to get some great candidates. So as much as it's a really unsettling time, from a candidate's perspective, it also can be a really beneficial time to kind of prep these questions.
So I appreciate what you said, Holly, which is one of the common questions we get asked is when do I say it? You're saying that's the final stage. We have another great question, which is it's around negotiation. So if I stay on my parents' health insurance, can I use that to negotiate? If I'm on my parents' health insurance, I don't need your health insurance. Can I waive it and get a higher salary? Is that something that's negotiable?
It depends on the employer. It can be. I know at Amica, we don't usually negotiate with that spot, just because then you're getting into, okay, well, you know, my spouse is on the coverage, so can I get more money from you because I don't need that type of coverage? So that can get into a really sticky situation as far as like legalities. But you can absolutely ask. No reason not to ask, to say, you know, I'm not interested in taking up any of your health insurance options. In spite of that, could I maybe look at this salary? It's worth asking.
I'll add on to it because I personally have seen it at different employers, and what it typically for those who have a policy of allowing it, they would say you sign this waiver, and then in return you get an additional amount of money, and that additional amount is usually pretty low. So it's you waive the health insurance, but you get an additional $500 to $1,000, which in compared to the insurance, it really the company themselves would typically put 10 to 15,000 into the insurance. So it's a very small return, but I personally have seen it happen through a health insurance waiver.
Yeah, they're probably never really going to give you that full minimum 10 grand that it's worth. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask. And most employers, as far as I've seen a lot of different questions in interviews, none of them have ever been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe someone asked me that as an employer. So most recruiters, most employers, we're open to hearing most questions, because we understand that this is a big decision for you to uproot your life and take a whole new job. So definitely the more questions you can ask, and honestly, we appreciate if you ask questions up front, because we don't want to get all the way to the end, make an offer, accept the offer, start the job, and then 2 weeks in you decide, you know what? I wasn't aware of this one benefit. I don't want to work here. So ask the questions up front. It's fun. We like it.
So, Holly, building off of that question, when we're looking at benefits, what's negotiable? Like what can we either do to say, I don't need this, can I have a higher salary? Or, you know what, part of me taking this package means I want extra of this.
Yeah, so it's honestly what's important to you. So I know we've had people who've negotiated, for example, we have relocation for some positions. There are some people who say, you know what, I'm willing to relocate, but I don't want you to do any of the work. I want to do it all on my own. So we'll reimburse them instead of paying for a relocation package. We'll reimburse them the finances. For example, the health insurance, we don't negotiate health insurance at Amica, but like you said, some companies might. A lot of the programs that are in place, like tuition reimbursement, is a program set in place that you have an option to use. The wellness benefits you have the option to use. Those aren't necessarily negotiable. It's more so, are they going to give you bonuses or commission? If so, what does that structure look like? Are you commuting? If so, if you're commuting more than an hour to get to your job, are they going to compensate you for the wear and tear on your car? Are they going to compensate you for gas? Maybe you have to move. Are they going to assist you with anything there? Are they going to compensate you for pack and load? Really anything that, if they're asking you to do anything for the job, you have the option to negotiate. If it's a program that's predetermined that they give you an option to use, probably not negotiable. Does that answer the question?
I think that's great. Thank you.
Any other questions on negotiating, tuition reimbursement, anything like that?
So I definitely, you and I had spoke. I know negotiation as a whole is a really big question. So how do I understand the concept of salary range? Like if I'm looking, I mean, if you say this job is 30 to 60,000 and I'm applying, I definitely want the 60,000. What does this salary range mean?
Yeah, so it could mean a number of things depending on the job. So for example, when we post a job, a lot of the times we'll post it at more of a lower level because we want to get people that might sell themselves as underqualified. Because you never know if you have something on your resume that we actually really need that we didn't know we needed. That's happened to us so many times. So we'll post a job and we'll say, I know the example I was using was the business intelligence analyst. Let's say we post it for a range of 60 to 100,000. What we're really meaning by that is that we want applicants of all different levels of experience to apply, because we'd like to make that decision based on the applicants that we get. We might have, say, 2 openings, and those 2 openings, we might ideally want 2 people who are senior level But if we get someone who, maybe they're a more junior level, but they've got that drive that we want, they've got some skills that we want, we'll hire them. They'll come in at a lower salary, but we're happy to hire that person and teach them what they need to know. On that same job, that range might be 60 to 100. Someone might come in as a business intelligence analyst who has 15 years experience, who can hit the ground running. We don't even need to train them. We just need to send them through orientation and they're good to go. They're going to come in at a higher salary because they've been doing it longer. They know more. So when it comes to starting that negotiation talk, you want to always give basically your own personal, I wouldn't say lowest, but basically the minimum that you don't want to drop below for that job. So if I'm going and I'm applying for an accounting role and I know that the range is 50 to 100, but I'm not willing to accept below 70 because of my experience, I want to start the conversation and say, so I noticed that this job was posted at a range of 50 to 100,000. I'm looking to start at a salary of 70,000 based on my prior experience. And then just hear what they have to say. Talk it out. They might say, all right, well, we're going to start you at 65, but we're also going to reimburse you for, relocation. We're going to give you a company car to get to work. We're going to give you all these extra benefits. And then you'd want to sit down and, like Audra said, really do the math out. Is it worth my time? And is it worth my frustration to have that paycheck? But always kind of circling back to this posting of the job. Never ever consider yourself underqualified or overqualified, because underqualified, we might not know that we need you yet. We might just see your skills and say, we can train that. That's what we need. Overqualified, I hate this term. I hate this term so much because it's not true. I consider the overqualified candidates to be golden candidates because they have everything that we need and more. So there's no such thing as overqualified. We would just need to really sit down and look at the job again and say, can we bring them in at a higher salary and a higher level? Because this person's great. So I think that answered your question. Yes?
Yeah, and I'm going to build off it too, because to the point of underqualified, I definitely hear from employers that, listen, if we have the right person, we will train you. Like that quality, that candidate that you think is gonna stay with you, the one who's bringing those unique skill sets, absolutely. The challenge, and where I want your input, is if I am that person who, looking at the description, I'm not meeting all of the requirements. I'm meeting, less than 70%. How, even though I might be this awesome candidate, how do I get in front of you? Like, in the sea of applicants, if I'm not meeting all of your criteria, how are you going to know that I exist?
Great question. So there's a few different ways. That's why I'm talking now about building your connections, because anytime that I get, for example, like a LinkedIn message, if I get a LinkedIn message, then I'll review that candidate's application, I'll review their profile, even if it's just a message saying, hey, I'm interested in this job, can you talk to me about it? I'm going through and I'm reviewing everything I can to let them know honestly, hey, you're a great fit for this role, check it out. I make no promises from there because more often than not, I'm the recruiter, not the hiring manager, but I can at least get your name in front of someone. So you really want to start by building those connections. If you're interested in a job, reach out to the recruiter in charge of that job, email the employment box with, letting them know, hey, I applied for this job and I'm really interested. It's not hounding if, number one, you're nice about it. And number two, it's not excessive. Sending a quick follow-up, hey, I noticed, it's been 2 weeks and I haven't heard anything. That's fine. If it's every day, that's hounding. But, and if it's mean, that's hounding. But if you're nice about it, follow up on these applications that you're applying to. Reach out on LinkedIn to the recruiters. Reach out to their employment teams. Let them know you're interested. And if you're really sitting there thinking, I don't think I have the qualifications, but I know that I can do it, add a cover letter. That's what the cover letter is for. It's not really required for a lot of jobs, but it's just that piece that says, I really want this job. Read this quick snapshot as to why.
So I think I just want to go back to the salary negotiation piece. So I think getting in front of somebody, that's huge. And I appreciate what you're saying, which is, you know what, it's okay to reach out to us. Do so in a way that is kind and minimal. And I think that's something that we've heard from a few other people where it's okay to say, I'm still interested in the position. I saw this and I'm applying. Just keep it succinct. Now, with the idea of negotiation, so if I've gotten in front of you, I've started to go through this process. Now we're at that salary negotiation piece. How do I make that case for myself? So how do I say, what do you want to hear? Because obviously you're seeing my qualifications. You've had a conversation. How do I make the case for myself to say I'm worth this amount of money within that spectrum?
Yeah, so hopefully at this point, when you're having this conversation, you've been through an initial interview, you've been through, or you're in your final interview, you've done a lot of research on the company, on what their initiatives are, maybe what their goals are, their mission, something, you've done your research. So at that point, when you're really trying to sell yourself, you want to think about, what value am I bringing to you? Yes, I have all of these skills and qualifications that I can list out on paper, but you want to take that information and tie it back to the conversation that you've had with that employer. So for example, a lot of the interviewing that I do is for our Future Leaders program. It's a leadership development program that we typically host a few times a year. And we hire, one of the main roles is an account management role. It's a team leader role. It's a supervisor. So one of the things that I find when people are negotiating salary for that position is that's a position where you're coming in at a set 50,000. You have to have significant experience to really be able to come in at a higher than average salary for that one. So when people are negotiating for that position, one thing that I love to hear is basically when they can sit down and they can say, I understand that you're looking for leadership opportunities. I think I should come in at 60,000 as opposed to the 50,000 because I've sat here and I've coached other people. I've got my insurance licenses. I've been in a situation where someone's been in a really devastating situation and I've had to talk them down and really walk them through that. You want to basically take your skills and your qualifications, you want to speak to them as to why they're important to that specific job and what exactly you personally can bring to that job.
Thank you, Holly.
So I like, for example, I'm just sorry, the one just popped into my head for the account management role. I know one thing that I see a lot of is if people are, taking on leadership positions in school. I know I see it a lot in like business organizations, Greek life, things like that. They spend a lot of time talking about balancing all of these different leadership roles that they have with school. That's something that I love to hear because in the account management role, you're juggling a bunch of different balls in the air. You've got your account representatives that you've got to coach and train. You've got policies you're underwriting. You've got customers that are calling you. So to hear that someone's, taking all of these different pieces of their life and all of these different roles and leadership positions and how they're balancing them and how that's beneficial to Amica, I love hearing that. I think it just puts them a step ahead as to why they really deserve that additional pay. One thing that someone actually always taught me is that whenever you go into an interview, always talk about yourself as if your best friend was the one speaking about you, because they're not going to say, oh, she's all right. She'll probably do okay at the job. Your best friend's going to sit there and say, Audra, you're going to be the absolute best for this job. You are going to keep everything organized. You are going to run this show. It's going to be great. No one's going to say about their best friend, oh, they're all right. Hopefully not, at least.
So I'm gonna build on this because this actually is a really it's another big talking point that people have. And One of it is, it comes from even the beginning, like when I'm looking at a program and saying, okay, with this job description, should I apply? So number one, do I feel strong enough to apply? Then two, it goes on to the resume and going, well, what do I need to share on the resume? And then over to the interview. And what I always talk to people about is, some people are very comfortable with the idea of selling themselves. They understand that I need to show you and highlight all these great experiences. Others feel really uncomfortable with this idea. They feel like it's bragging. And I think that's the big line, like, how am I bragging? And so one conversation I have with people is about accuracy, that you as the employer do not know me. I have to be accurate and share information. And that information needs to be specific in what I've done, including if there's anything that talks about numbers and impact. And so it really is all about information so that you can make the right decision, and at the same time, so that I can make the right decision for a good match.
Yeah, and so many people get uncomfortable about selling themselves, but one thing to really remember is that, yes, you are trying to sell yourself to that company, but that company is absolutely trying to sell themselves to you too. It's a two-way street. We can only make an offer. You then have to accept it. And like I said, we're heading into a point where unemployment is skyrocketing, meaning there's going to be a lot of people applying for jobs. So as an employer, we're really going to be fighting to say, I want you to work here. Don't go to that other company. Come work for us. So this is kind of a time where it's really time to practice those negotiation skills and practice explaining to a company why you're beneficial. And really, that answer is going to change for every company, every job that you apply for, because every company has a different initiative. If you're going to be applying to Amica, you really want to focus in on customer service, taking care of the people around you, because that's what we're all about. But, if I'm going to go and apply to, Amazon, I'm probably thinking efficiency. I want to be there. I want to be the one that they choose all the time. That's a guess. I don't know. But, definitely don't necessarily think about how to sell yourself. Think about how to sell yourself to that position, to that company, because it could change. It could change for each job.
So I think you bring a really interesting perspective, because right now, saying that the employers are looking for the right candidate, I think on the candidate side, there's a lot of nervousness. There's the realization that in most situations, I'm going to be part of a bigger candidate pool. So knowing that I'm going to be part of a bigger pool, why would the employer want to sell themselves to me? Like, they're going to have more options. So why is it going to be, what makes the employer really want to work harder right now?
Yeah, because we are going to have more options. That's absolutely true, but so are all the candidates. Think about how many companies have had to lay people off that are going to now be rehiring people. Those positions, there are going to be so many open positions, so that we need to be able to, as a company, stand out and say, I know that you have an offer from, Amica, from Amazon, from Google, from Progressive, from Nationwide, all these different positions for, say, a customer service role. But, it's essentially the same job no matter where you go. You're on the phones, you're dealing with customers, but, from an employer standpoint, we really need to spend the time to say, look, here's why you should choose me, because yeah, you are going to be entering a candidate pool where there's going to be hundreds of people in it, but at the same time, the hiring is all going to start happening kind of at once. Once we start reopening the economy, everyone's going to start hiring people back. So it's going to be about whatever employer can get back to people the quickest and then have the best sales pitch. If you're going out there and applying to 50 jobs, if all 50 employers are on top of things, you could have tons of interviews set up, and now we're fighting over you. So it's definitely, you definitely want to think about, as we're heading into this kind of a weird time in hiring. Like I said, reach out to those people on LinkedIn to make yourself stand out. Reach out to the recruitment coordinators, anyone that you can find on the recruiting teams. And just remember that, you know, you want to make sure that you're highlighting the value that you're bringing to a company. I think that's really important.
So I want to remind people, please use the chat feature Q&A because we're wrapping up right now. I have one comment and one question. If you have any questions, put them in and we'll make sure Holly gets to answer them. But one of the things I appreciate about what Holly's saying right now, it reiterates what I've heard from another group that was talking about changes in employment, and really that going forward for many companies, this is going to be their chance to look very critically at their team and really do this rebuild. So we've had a challenging economy, and you know this is going to continue to affect us for a while. But how do we reevaluate how we do business, number one, and then number two, who are those team members that are really going to be strong and flexible and creative and that are going to stay with us and really be committed to the work. So there is a very interesting opportunity to be part of the solution for any of these companies. So my question, this will be my last question, is about decision making. I appreciate when Holly started off talking about the mission and really understanding what's this company all about. Also knowing these benefits and the continued support. And I like the continued support because for me, this goes into a lot of the conversations I have with individuals around satisfaction in their job. So, okay, great. I'm making the paycheck and I'm doing well and I can do it, but am I feeling fulfilled? Am I feeling connected? Am I feeling invested in? So I think that's a really important view, and it's hard when you're on the job search phase, but if you can be reflective, I think it's the thing that leads to this is a company I'm going to stick with for a longer time. Holly, if I do have these multiple offers, if I am that strong, flexible, creative candidate who is excited to connect with a company, how do I make a decision on which one is the best one for me?
Yeah. So I think part of it really comes to go with your gut. I think that, for me personally, when I was deciding, there was something about walking into Amica that when I was in that building, when I was on that campus, I just could see myself there. I could see myself working there long term. I felt at home there. I felt comfortable with everyone that I met. And for me personally, that was a big deciding factor for me because I cared about who am I spending my time with for 40 hours a week. Do I like these people? That was my big deciding factor. And everyone that I met, I loved. And I can still say to this day that I haven't met anyone that I dislike at Amica, knock on wood. But, when it comes to making that decision, it's really all about kind of what's important to you. For me, it was the people. For me, that's really all I wanted. I wanted a stable job, but I wanted to love the people that I work with. So when you have multiple offers on the table, you really want to take a look at where do you feel comfortable, where do you feel at home, and where do you see yourself growing? That's going to carry so much weight because you're going to spend maybe 40 hours a week there. It's going to become a second home to you. And, especially at times like these, you might want to find out what did the company do for their employees during coronavirus? Are you able to, are they supporting you at that time? But really at the end of the day, it's trusting your gut and understanding that if you choose a job and 5 years down the line, you hate it, you're not locked into anything. You can always go out and get a new job. You might have to start over a little bit, but you can always start over. It's okay.
So I really I appreciate the going with your gut, and I think yes, when I go into it, understanding what and having the reflection time to pick out what is most important to me is huge. Going with your gut always sounds like this broad comment, and it is, and it's tough because it's so subjective. But what I will say is that when I see people who have changed positions and we kind of go back to their interviews and we go through it and talk about it, there's something that they said, well, I knew this was a little bit off, or I knew there was that, if I replay the tapes in my mind, there was a flag. And so I think oftentimes we're caught up in that excitement of a potential job, but also, sometimes even the anxiety of it, of, oh gosh, where do I start? So Holly, thank you so much. I think from the mission, breaking down these benefits and understanding what the true value is, and then knowing where the continued support can, and how being able to align with a company that I'm going to stick with will help me move up in my career too. I am getting thank yous on the chat, and I appreciate this. This has been a great opportunity to connect. Holly, thank you for joining us today. And thank you for being part of this series.
Yeah, and of course, if there are any other questions, you can share my contact information. Happy to answer them.